Hello and welcome to Week in Review, and this is where we look at happenings that have occurred in the past 1 week on Trust Television. In case you missed out, this is an opportunity for you to catch up. I am Martia Umar. And a lot of protests happened last week. We'll start with this one that occurred during the week of the protest that thronged Russian embassy open. I say this because a lot of Nigerians thronged the Russian embassy in the federal capital territory, Abuja, to protest against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And parents of Nigerian students affected by the tension between the countries joined the protest as they appealed to the Russian government to stop the war in Ukraine and embrace peace in a bid to allow their children return to school in Ukraine. Hundreds of people have fled Ukraine since Russian President Vladimir Putin launched an attack on its neighbors, Ukraine. The Nigerian government had, in the wake of the invasion, rolled out plans to evacuate its citizens from Ukraine, although many faulted the move as belated.
And that being the case, our children that are schooling there are no longer in school. So many of them have run away for their safety. So presently, we don't know where they are. We can't account for them. So that is why we are here.
We Nigerian women are come to beg the UK and Russia and the Nigeria embassy and the UK embassy to join together to make peace. My junior sister is there, so they're crying to Nigeria to beg the Ukraine and Russia to make peace. They still love where they still love the town, so they need peace to reign.
We have children there that are schooling. We have businessmen there from Nigeria that are there. But because of this war, it gives us sleepless nights. So that is why we are here, to tell Russian government, Ukrainian government to negotiate and shift swords, give peace a chance, so that our children that are out of school now there should return back to school. The businessmen there should have peace to go about their normal businesses. So that is why we are pleading with them to give peace a chance and stop the war.
And still talking about events that occurred as a result of the Russia-Ukraine crisis, the first batch of evacuees from Romania arrived at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on Friday morning. And the evacuees who fled Ukraine in the wake of the Russian invasion of the country sought refuge in Romania. The federal government had contracted some aircraft to evacuate the stranded Nigerians who had been asked to go to neighboring countries such as Poland, Hungary, Romania, among others. I recall that the federal government had approved a total of $8.5 million for the exercise. Meanwhile, reports say Air Peace could not depart Nigeria as scheduled due to operational hitches. A MAX air flight left Abuja for Bucharest on Thursday, and it's now back with the first set of evacuees, and this happened. The wives and relatives of Burundi change operators accused of terrorism financing protest against continued detention of their husbands without formal charge in court. The women blocked a state road leading to Kano Government House carrying placards with different inscriptions. Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin was at that protest, and he speaks to some protesters who say that it will be a continuous exercise. Let's take a look.
Near confrontation with security operatives averted at the entrance of the state government house when these women attempted to shut down the route to prevent vehicles from passing.
We need justice. We need government to do justice for us. These were arrested 1 year ago. They have not been taken to the court to know their fate. This is not the government we voted for. We're the ones who voted for this government. Therefore, how can we continue to suffer like this? We truly need justice.
These women are protesting the continued detention of their husbands, whom they said have been with security operatives for nearly a year now.
I'm actually representing all the women involved because my son was among those arrested. We're begging on authorities to review their condition and take them to court so that anyone found guilty can be punished accordingly. But keeping them just like this and putting our lives in hardship is not wise at all. They are all in bad condition, and government told us they are being taken care of.
According to these people, despite their repeated complaint, Nigerian authorities seems not to have been listening to them. Hence, they came out with their women and children to protest the continued detention of their husbands.
We want the government to be just concerning our husbands that have been detained. They left us with children, some just put to bed and some are sick. We can barely feed. We have to beg from our relatives. The government should please help us bring back our husbands.
This is not the first time these people are coming out to protest on the streets over what they call the illegal arrest of their family and relatives who are the Bureau de Change operators in Kano, who were earlier arrested by security operatives. They said they are not living here until authorities listen to them and hear their cries before they leave out this particular place. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And away from Kano, one of the biggest protests that occurred in the past 1 week is the National Association of Nigerian Students coming out to protest, and they have held a nationwide protest against the lingering strike by the Academy Staff Union of Universities, ASU. The students, led by the national president Sunday Asefon, gathered on Monday morning at the Unity Fountain National Assembly, Federal Secretariat in the nation's capital, displaying various placards and chanting solidarity songs. The protest held in other states, including Kano State, Plateau State, Niger State, Jalingo, Taraba State, Ekiti State, Oyo State, among others. Trust TV's Aisha Saliu was at the scene of the protest, and she reports.
Strike is a recurring line of action in the educational system, as it is currently being perpetuated by Academic Staff Union of Universities. This has led Nigerian students on the streets of Abuja to demand for their right of education.
The protesting students began the protest from the Unity Fountain to other parts of the Federal Capital Territory with the presence of security operatives expressing their demands of the federal government and the striking Academic Staff Union of Universities. President of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Sunday Asefon, while addressing journalists at the gates of the National Assembly, said the Students' Union has given the federal government an ultimatum to meet and resolve the issue with ASU or face a national mass action by the Nigerian students.
As a matter of urgent, that we want the Speaker and the Senate President to help us intervene on the matter that matters to our life. Yes. Education is a right. Yes. It's not a privilege. Yes. We are calling on them. Yes. They should talk to ASU. They should talk to federal government. They should have an equilibrium. They should resolve their differences. We want to go back to school. We want to go back to class. We are tired of being at home.
He described as unfortunate the attitude of the federal government, who he accused of playing hide and seek with ASU since 1999, when it signed the agreement with the academic union.
We are begging them, the way they are taking our education, the government, the attitude of government and ASU towards our education system in this country is alarming. We don't want it. We are calling on them. The ASU should call us strike. If they don't call us strike, we are coming back. If they don't call us strike, we are coming back. Thank you so much, and I'm sure the Speaker and the Senate President will hear this message. We are leaving, but if we come back again, if the ASU strike if we don't end between now and Friday, permanently, I can assure you, if we come back here, we will not live here.
Student union leaders at the protest joined voices in making their demands heard.
According to the strike that we have in Nigeria here, the ASU strike is, we totally condemn ASU strike. It is not good. Education is our right, not a privilege. And if the federal government of Nigeria is not sponsoring ASU for our education, we don't want them in office. That is our demand for now.
The corrupt system cannot be flushed out if the educational system are not rectified. As I'm talking to you now, I will not stop until I go back to school.
Do they want us to go and start doing year one? They will arrest us, or they want us to become criminals in the street. Let them open the school. Let's go to school. Want to go to school?
No school, no national assembly.
School. They will close all the offices in Abuja here. We are ready for that.
Now we are on the second week of ASUU strike. Nobody is catering for, nobody is looking to Nigerian students as a critical stakeholder. We constituted the highest population of youth in Nigeria. Nigerian students constituted the highest population. Then why are they not putting us into consideration? If ASUU is fighting for us, if federal government said they are not, they are fulfilling their own part of the agreement, then they should incorporate us into that stakeholder meeting. Let us see what they are negotiating on. If they are negotiating our future, let us know ourselves. If they are fighting for us or they are fighting for themselves, ASUU should come out and say it to our face, we are tired. Enough of all this madness. We want to be back to our institutions. We want to be back to school. Unilag, FUTA, they are supposed to start examining of this month, this February. Nuga Games is in 20 days' time. Everything is in jeopardy.
Chants of frustration are obviously what is in the voices of the Nigerian students on the street protesting and asking the federal government to meet with the demands of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, just so they can return to school, they can return to academic activities, as they have missed out a lot. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, in response to the strike action and the protest by the National Association of Nigerian Students, the federal government said that it does not oppose to the payment of good emolument to lecturers in the universities currently embarking on a one-month warning strike. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, said this on Tuesday during the week while fielding questions from State House reporters and after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. I recall that the president, after consultation with some stakeholders, including the National Interreligious Council, had mandated him to find a quick solution to the strike.
If we compare with what obtains in other climes and are not adequately remunerated, nothing stops government from within the lean resources that we have do some compensation raise and make them happy. So we are not opposed to that, but there's a process, like I explained to them. The process is that the committee, internal committee in Ministry of Education, headed by chair of pro-chancellors, will submit their report, and the report will be looked at by the officials of the ministry in conjunction with the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, so that they make sure that none of the allowances so proposed runs counter to government extant fixtures. Mr. President mandated the Chief of Staff to the President, myself, Minister of Labour, and the Minister of Education, and Minister of Finance, to find a very urgent and quick solution to the issues mentioned and the complaints therein. And we started to do the necessary engagement.
Until this time, there's not been a solution to the end. We getting to see the end of the strike action by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. You're watching Week in Review on Trust Television. More stories after the break.
The idea was to give the interim government confidence that there is somebody, a military man, who is well known, who can be accepted.
You alluded to the case of your son, Umar Farouk. Are you in touch with him?
Yes, he phones us 2 times, sometimes 3 times in a month.
As always, when I'm talking about late Abiola, I still thank my God for directing me on things to do when he gave me that leadership of this country.
Many of you honest Fulanis, you allow this man to cast aspersion on you.
You know, Zamfara is the mother of all bandits.
The biggest problem, if you permit me, is the fact that we have not been able to get the totality of our citizenry.
It's very, very difficult to have a fixed mind like that this one you will hand over to this person because you think you will do better.
I don't see myself under no circumstance ever leaving APC for another political party.
Here on the Mambila Plateau. And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed.
Most people in Nigeria are ignorant of the fact that employing a child as a maid is in fact against the law.
Access to the textile mill has been very difficult.
I believe, or I think that if you want to make money, it should be in a place where there are not plenty of people that can do what you do.
From the way things are happening now, I don't think the two parties will make an impact.
I've been talking about the updates concerning the campaign of Nigerian Super Eagles in Abuja.
Bola Tinubu has informed President Muhammadu Buhari of his ambition to contest for the position of president.
To be self-reliant, a blind man defies all odds to become a carpenter in Gombe State.
The country is now experiencing a fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic with the emergence of the Omicron variant.
Talks are ongoing between NRC management and the union.
Thank you for staying with us. This is still a weekend review on Trust Television. And moving on to more reviews, the wife of Abdulmalik Tanko facing trial for the mother of a 5-year-old Hanifa Abubakar testifies against him at a Kano High Court. And Justice Osman Naaba presided over the sitting. Prosecution Counsel and Kano State Attorney General Lawan Musa led Jamila Muhammad in evidence as prosecution witness. Idris Tribune reports.
Nearly a month since Abdulmalik Tanko was arraigned before a Kano State High Court sitting in Audu Bako Secretariat for the alleged kidnapped and subsequent killing of a 5-year-old Hanifa Abubakar, a total of 8 witnesses have now appeared to testify against the alleged crime.
These are witnesses that gave vital evidence on the case, how the whole investigation was conducted from the beginning, how the first, second, and third accused persons were arrested, and equally some exhibits recovered.
Wife of the accused, Jamila Muhammad, while testifying before the presiding judge, confirmed that Hanifa spent 5 days in their house after the accused told her that the child belongs to his friend, whose wife secured a job in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and was invited to Abuja for documentation, hence the idea to keep the child with him for some time.
And all these witnesses were thoroughly cross-examined by the defense team. So, like I said and like I told you, we are very much ready to prosecute this case in the shortest possible time.
Meanwhile, the defense counsel objected to the testimony of the first and second prosecution witness on the grounds that Abdulmalik says he was tortured during police investigation. Hence, the presiding judge, Justice Usman Naaba, ordered for a trial within trial, during which Abdulmalik was summoned to the witness box, where he confirmed to have been tortured by the police.
They called different witnesses, numbering from 4th, 5th, and 6th. It was on the 6th we objected to the tendering of the statements of the first and third defendant. Then the court ordered for trial within trial. And we graciously acknowledged and went into hearing of the trial within trial, which you will be also surprised that we face it today. And the court has asked us when to respond. We say we will respond within the time slated for this case, billed for 9th and 10th of March. And we promise the court that we'll make sure we exchange our addresses, and on the 9th, the court will rule on the voluntariness or otherwise on the statement being objected of the first and third defendant. The purpose of trial routine trial is to test the voluntariness or otherwise of the statement of the first and third defendant. That's the purpose. And we know if we come and play drama, we look funny. The law requires that we should do the needful, and this is what we are doing. The representation of defendant is not for joke, it's for real.
For now, the judge has adjourned the case to the 9th and 10th March 2022 for further hearing and subsequent ruling on the trial within trial for the alleged torture before the return of the main trial. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And still talking about court cases, this happened in Abuja during the week where Federal High Court in Abuja has refused a bail application of the suspended commissioner, former Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, and he's been investigated over alleged involvement in a 25 kilograms cocaine deal. The court adjourned until March 15 to hear a fundamental rights enforcement suit filed against Abba Kyari. I was there, and this was what took place.
Counsel to the NDLEA and counsel to Abba Kyari declined interview with newsmen after the court sitting. Ruling on the bail application on Monday, Justice Iang Eko held that the bail application had been overtaken by events in view of an order of a sister court granting NDLEA permission to detain the plaintiff for another 14 days to enable it to conclude its investigation.
After deliberations from the Defense Counsel and also the Prosecuting Counsel at the Federal High Court in Abuja, the former Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, was not granted bail by the presiding judge, Justice Iang Eko. Recall that he filed a bail application earlier this month, and also he sued the federal government for the infringement of his right. Justice Iang Eko has adjourned the case for the enforcement of his fundamental human rights hearing, which will take place on the 15th of March 2022. But pending the hearing, he will be given the adequate attention, because he also filed, one of the reasons he filed for the bail application was because of his ill health. So Justice Iang Eko said that he will be given the prescribed medication until the hearing on the 15th. Of course, the day of the hearing too, it will be time for the hearing of the enforcement of his fundamental human rights, which he claimed has been infringed upon. So until then, we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see what happens at the hearing, which is stipulated to hold on the 15th of March 2022. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And then moving on to other stories, and the federal government on Thursday last week approved the request by the United States of America for suspended commander of the Police Intelligence Response Team, Deputy Commissioner of Police, DCP Abba Kyari, to be extradited over the $1.1 million wire fraud perpetrated by Abbas Ramon, also known as Hush Puppy, and 4 others. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami said the government's approval follows an application filed before the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court in Abuja for Kyari's extradition. And the AGF said that the application is coming after request by the diplomatic representative of the U.S. Embassy in Abuja for the surrender of Abba Kyari, who is a subject in a superseding 3-court indictment. Another very sad one, another fire outbreak at an internally displaced persons camp at Kalarimuna Garage in Maiduguri has occurred again. And the fire outbreak, which happened on Wednesday, is quickly put out by 3 fire service fighters mobilized to the scene to contain the disaster. A similar inferno destroyed over 2,000 houses and 2 weeks ago. The cause of the fire at the time of the report was not really known, and number of households were destroyed and casualty remains unknown.
It's not up to 15 days. Another fire started again. A lot of properties were destroyed, and it took long before the fire service people came to quench it. We are calling on the governor to save the situation by rebuilding our communities so we can return. We are not happy with this continuous incident, and feeding is difficult for us. Fire always affects this IDP camp.
We have been suffering days, not once, not twice. Right now, no place to sleep, no bed. I have stayed here for 7 years. We are seriously tired of staying here. We just want compensation and we leave the camp so we can go and continue our lives elsewhere.
And that ends the Weekend Review on Trust Television this week. Remember to join us next week for another edition of Weekend Review on Trust Television. For more updates, please follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Martia Umar. Thank you for watching.